This video is brought to you by my patrons. Patreon is a website where you can go and support creators that you love on YouTube or Twitch, etc. And this is a fantastic group of people who've decided to come together and help support me with a small monetary donation, which I use to keep the channel up, buy new equipment, keep my computer running, etc. I would like to give a huge thank you to all my patrons, and in exchange for their patronage, they get new videos that have never been released on YouTube, they get private live streams with me, and free copies of my book until next time. So, a huge, huge thank you to my existing patrons, and if you would like to access these benefits on Patreon, just visit patreon.com/thelovechat. I'll leave a link in the description below, and now here's your episode. If only I were more attractive. If only I had paid a little more attention. How often in relationships, or rather breakups, do you hear yourself saying something like, if only? If only I had done better, this wouldn't have happened. It's a form of bargaining, but at the same time, and more insidiously, it's a form of self-blame. It's so normal after a breakup to do a post-mortem, right? To figure out what went right, what went wrong, and ultimately, what many of us do is fall into the trap of assigning blame. And if I can just assign blame to myself, well then that means there's something I can do about it, and at the same time, if I can assign blame to myself, well then that justifies all the shitty feelings and low self-esteem that I have. Because I'm searching for evidence that I am no good, and actively, I am creating it. It's so overwhelmingly important when a relationship fails to do that post-mortem. Yeah, I'm all for it. But if the post-mortem, right, figuring out what went wrong after the thing, is comprised of 90% beating yourself up, well then it's not going to be very useful. You see, a couple things happen after a breakup. The first of which is that we feel bad, which, like I've said before, makes perfect sense, right? Very emotionally appropriate. A bad thing happened, you feel bad, so your emotions are working just fine. But, of course, none of us enjoy feeling bad. So we need to take all of that negativity that we're feeling, and sadness, etc., and we have to somehow make it all our fault. If only I had done better. If only I was better, this wouldn't have happened, they would have stayed. And I think that there's merit in researching how we could have done better after a relationship ends. A very common example of that is attachment theory. Many people, before visiting channels like mine, or The Dating Guy, or Thais Gibson, they don't know about attachment theory, and they walk away learning a lot more about themselves, and thus they can be better partners because they're self-aware, and they have likely taken steps to self-improve because they've discovered a problem. They figured out, here's what's going wrong, and there's a couple things that I can do about it that would help make things better next time. Somewhere in this process, we get caught up. We forget to do the self-improvement part, and we become hyper-aware of why we are no good. Now, I want to be really clear. Personal responsibility, accountability, self-awareness, these are all amazing things to have, not only as eligible partners for romance, but just as human beings in general. It's good to know how we made a mistake and then really figuring out how we can avoid that mistake in the future. There's nothing wrong with that process. That makes perfect sense to me. It's just when we can't stop pointing out mistakes and we pay no mind to how to improve upon those mistakes. So what I'll see very often is someone who is just beating themselves up time and time again. And how many times in these videos or live streams do you guys hear me tell people, like, leave yourself alone, you're really doing fine, you're doing okay. Because in their world, at that moment, when everything seems like it's crumbling down on top of them, all they can think of is why they're no good. And if they were better, then this wouldn't have happened. Except life happens to all of us. It is possible to commit no mistake and still lose. It is possible to commit every mistake in the book and still win. Life is not fair. But we can improve our chances very greatly by seeing how we can do better, not only for ourselves, but for others. Now, of course, the primary reason we should be doing the self-work is for ourselves, because we are the ultimate beneficiary of these self-improvements. If I go to the gym and I talk to my counselor and I do all of those little things, have a better relationship with my friends and family, do some journaling, really explore my boundaries and my attachment style and my past traumas, well, then life will get better. It will. And if you think that it won't, I'm sorry, you're wrong. And of course, life extends beyond just those several examples that I've mentioned. Push-ups and sit-ups aren't going to cure everything, no. But that's why it's so important to do this self-experiment, this self-introspection. Because then you can define what's wrong, self-defined goals. And as you begin to pursue correction of whatever's wrong, things will get better because you defined it as wrong and you know yourself better than anybody else. And then as you begin to sit down and self-define how you can do better, well, you get better at looking outside of yourself as well. Because instead of having a million voices beating yourself up, well, there's less now because you're starting to address them. For example, I don't think we're attractive. I feel like we weigh too much. Okay, let's go to the gym. All right, now I've lost 5-10 pounds. I feel better. Well, that voice is quieter now. I don't have a good relationship with mom or dad. Okay, well, let's spend some time working on that. Okay, well, now that voice is more quiet. And as things begin to get better and some of the fog begins to clear up, now we're able to look at our partner and say, well, hold on, you weren't perfect either. But at a breakup, we are so bad to ourselves. We just beat the shit out of ourselves. And I understand why we do it. And certainly, try telling somebody who just got broken up with, hey, you really need to sit and journal. They're going to give you the middle finger. I just got broken up with. I'm not thinking about that right now. I'm thinking about, how do I get this person back? I understand. And I've been there. And this is a process that takes time, a very necessary ingredient. But it's important not to sit and repeat, if only. If only I had done better. If only I was better, this wouldn't have happened. Because that's counterproductive as well. You're so busy blaming yourself, you're not getting up and doing what needs to be done. Because you know what you don't like about yourself. You know what parts of your life need some repair. I don't. There's no way I could know, but you do. And you got this. All it takes is action. You've done the thinking. Now do the work. Until next time.